Hey, you guys, welcome to Splinterlands TV. It is I, the Psy, and I am back. I said I would do a little bit of analysis after I've had a little bit of time to experiment and see how survival mode goes. So I am back to talk a little bit about survival mode, and I was wrong about survival mode in a lot of ways. But in a lot of ways, I was also right about survival mode. So I just want to talk a little bit about it in my initial experiences. So first off, just I'm just so glad that Peak Monster exists because it allows me to toggle between survival mode and activating and deactivating it so easily compared to the interface within Splinterlands. So instead of creating like lists within Splinterlands, I just kind of did my own thing here within Peak Monsters, and then you can easily click and you can enable or disable survival mode easily through Peak Monsters. So first off, my first impression of survival mode was, how do I even make these lists that they're talking about so I can choose to include or exclude things? It seemed really slow through Splinterlands, so I used Peak Monsters and I created lists. So I've got different lists now that I can use and I can pull them up. Like here's my play cards, for instance, that I took from my primary account and put in here. And then I've got my non-play cards, I guess I should say, that came from my primary. So it's just got like everything listed in here instead. Let's take away all lists, and you can see there's big gaps in the list of things I've been trying to complete. All right, so first impression was getting things started took a while, especially since everything defaults to yes. Now, that might not be the case with everyone. It was the case with me because I run a bot. So since I've got a bot on my main account and I was in Xbot here, I had to go ahead and I had to choose under configuration. I was under battle, and I had chosen wild plus survival because they just had a ton of survival cards, right? And I knew it was going to start activating, so I had to get that done ASAP as soon as I did the switch over. Now, you guys might have remembered my initial strategy with survival was going to be something like get an army of 1 BCX, hope you get matched up against other 1 BCX kind of players, and that's how you're going to be able to grind survival. Well, turns out that might not have been the best choice. Turns out that the higher on the leaderboard you are, the better the payout is. You can see here that with my 1-star like army, and I've got good things there. I got Bagheeras, I've got Deep Lurkers, you know, I've got Swamp Spitters and Swim Hunters. So I got a pretty decent like repertoire of creatures that I can go and I can reference if I need to, in order to have like good 1-star decks, you know. But if you take a look here, look, I'm just getting crushed. How many days are gone in the season? So 7 days are out in the season, and anyone who was thinking like me and was pretty much like, hey, I'll just go in there with my 1-stars, with few exceptions like myself, and I know there's probably a few other people out here like that I've beaten, like probably Deathical, who I'm always facing Deathical, man. So aside from like myself and Deathical and maybe Zith over here, there's not that many people that are actually left right now that seem to be having 1-stars. So you can see that it's basically, I've got like on my top 20, last 20 battles, I got 1, 2, I got 2 wins. And if we look on the leaderboard, out of 903 battles, I've only had 380 wins. So I'm far less than 50%. And even when I do go ahead and I get a win, I'm only getting 0.03 SPS. Now, earlier when I started the season, I was getting like 1.5 SPS, but there's always that plateau that you're going to hit when you're only using 1-star cards. That makes it pretty much impossible to advance beyond like, you know, 300 and a little bit. You know, you can maybe get to 350 or so, but I don't think I touched even 400 using my 1-star army, and that was with having a few non-1-stars in it, which I've later taken out now because I'm going to be doing some modifications of the way I do my rentals. Just a second, sorry. Whoa, which I'm going to be using to modify a little bit. So I took them out of even being an option to play for survival mode. I also started survival mode a little bit late. I started it, I think, like 2 days late. Because I couldn't figure out how to get Xbot to work, and it turned out that I hadn't delegated to survival mode yet. That was my big thing that I messed up, so I had to read up and figure that out. But once I got that running and everything, I think that part of the reason why the 2 days matters is because the other people like me, who are like the 1-stars, are like, hey, we have to get in as many battles as we can right at the start of the season when those other 1-star people are out and battling, so we can match up with them as many times as possible before we all run out of cards because we're going to get beat down, right? So I think that those 2 days would have been my best days in survival that I've now missed out on. So we're going to see next season how things go. But I mean, even taking a look at winning 380 games, we'll call it. So let's say I won 380 games so far. I mean, and let's say that I got like 3/4 of an SPS. Let's say that I ended up with 250 SPS from those 380 wins. It's probably less than that. Let's call it 200 SPS for those 380 wins. That's still 200 free SPS as far as I'm concerned that I got through a mode that's just basically botting. So that's just the way that I'm treating survival. Now, I'm doing that because I don't have the inclination to rent for survival. And also I just don't have the time to do another format on top of doing modern. But what I will say is I know for sure that there are people out there who are renting to play survival right now. Like my homeboy Dolo Knight, who, don't forget about the content creator challenge that's going on right now between myself, Dolo Knight, and Gathering the Magic, who are working on our primary accounts. And if he's using this strategy in that account, I mean, it could get him there, right? But he was talking to me even about, hey man, I think that I might try like renting to play in survival mode because the benefits are just so huge, you know? Like when you have the potential to earn 1,000 SPS with a single win. I mean, I'm not saying everyone's doing that, right? But I mean, you have the potential to earn 1,000 SPS with a single win. I mean, that blows anything that we've done so far in the contest out of the water, aside from maybe a few high posts, if you know what I mean. So, I mean, I can certainly see him trying to get into survival through rentals and everything like that. So that's definitely something that people are considering, is just going about getting a bunch of rentals and then using those rentals to play survival. Now, again, I was wrong about survival. The fact that this is happening is actually fantastic. I mean, we've got people who now, what they're doing is they're just renting cards because they don't even have enough cards to be able to continue to compete in survival. So they're willing to pay like 10 BCX a day for a Jin Renova at this point in time, just so that they can go ahead and play survival. Now, previously, we have to remember what rentals were like, right? Everyone was like, rentals are terrible, rentals aren't earning me anything. Like, there's no point in being someone who owns cards because not only do you have to take the risk of owning the card, but there's no rental income even involved anymore. Well, people are so pumped about survival that has certainly changed. Like, if I go and I take a look at my rental account, for instance, right now, this is my rental account. I've thrown my wild cards into this as well. I don't know how long I'm going to keep my wild cards in here. I might take my wild cards out and I might put them back into my primary account, depending on how many other people have taken their cards out of their wild account and put them up to rent, because the rent is just so good. You know, you might not even want to play in wild, because I know that I was earning around $10 per season botting wild, right? But when I can go ahead and I can rent out these cards here and I can make 4,996 DEC a day, you know, that's not all my play cards. Here, let's do this. I can actually see on silence play cards. So when I can actually rent out my deck though, and I can, these are the cards I transferred from my primary account. And I don't think that these prices are even necessarily right yet, because I've got a lot of things like, it's renting out stuff like, alright, so I set the price manually of a lot of these. Like I have Murdali Guardian at 9 and Assassin at 2 and things like that, right? Like the prices aren't correct. Even with the prices being what they are, this is my play deck. This is the stuff I took from my wild account, my primary account, my silence account. And I said, you know what? It's more profitable for me to rent out these cards than it is for me to even play them in wild, which sucks because I always look at the formula as being, what do you lose in glint? You know, if I was making $10 botting wild and I was only making $12 renting cards out, then I'd say, you know what, for that $2 a difference, I may as well just go ahead and I may as well earn the glint, you know, because the glint's worth something to me. It helps me win. Winning earns more SPS, and it's fun. I love glint and the concept of glint. But at that same time, when I can rent out for 2,196 DEC a day, potentially 3,000 DEC a day, then I mean, I have to start considering like, how much is the glint worth in the face of 20 additional dollars that I'd earn within that 15 days, right? Because I mean, if I'm getting 2,000 DEC a day, we can consider that 30,000 DEC, and we'll call it peg because we know we're going to get there during Conclave Arcana. At some point, we're going to hit peg, flywheel start, and then we'll overproduce the DEC. It'll go down again. But, I mean, at some point in time, we're going to hit peg. So let's consider this 2,000 DEC a day, and let's consider that $2 over 15 days. That's $30. If I'm making $10 botting plus glint, but I'm making $30, I guess this would be renting, but no glint. I mean, the $20 is worth more to me than the probably 250, 300,000 glint that I get throughout the season. You know, so I have to kind of like balance things that way as well when I'm looking at it. But the mere fact that we're able to achieve these kind of rental prices, this, for me, 4,996 DEC a day, which is unheard of, okay? Like, well, even during, like, when things were fantastic, just popping for peak monsters, just popping for Splinterlands. I saw peak monsters there. I was like, popping for peak monsters. It just flowed so well, you know. But even when things were popping for Splinterlands, I don't remember being able to get rental income like this, you know. So, and this is all being driven by survival. And the fact that people love survival so much. The card lords, they love survival. It gives them a place to go ahead and use those extra cards that they have otherwise doing nothing on, right? It removes those cards from even being listed on this rental market, because now the people who own those cards are like, well, you know what? I have the potential to win 1,000 SPS in a single battle. I don't want to rent these cards out anymore. I want to use these cards myself, which totally makes sense, right? I mean, if they only kept one of each card and wanted to do survival, then they'd be renting cards back from themselves in a lot of ways, potentially at a premium. So taking those cards off the market just by virtue of them saying, hey, you know what, I want to play my own cards in survival, I don't want to rent them out anymore, has definitely had prices going all over the place in a lot of ways, especially on summoners, right? Because if you lose a match, you lose the summoner. And if you want to play at the most competitive levels and you want to earn that 1,000 SPS, then you need a max level summoner. So the price on these max level summoners has really just like skyrocketed as far as from like a rental perspective, right? I don't know if I have any to show you because I'm redoing some of my rentals right now. Let me just click on summoners. There we go. So I got a Tarsa 8-star. Like even an 8-star Tarsa is renting for 50 DEC a day right now, right? And that's for Tarsa. And I guess that counts for a 71% APR. Right? So if I bought a Tarsa today and I was able to rent it out for 50 DEC a day, at the end of a year, I will have paid off 71% of that Tarsa with just rental income, if I'm reading this data correctly. Like, that's the world that we're in right now. We're in the world where these Tarsas and stuff like that are 8-star Tarsas can now rent for 50 DEC a day, which again, over the course of the season is 50 times 15 is 750. That's 75 cents. So now these Tarsas that we used to be buying for like 10 cents each, you're getting 75 cents on them, just for renting them out. So I mean, that's 7 free Tarsas every season, which again is working towards your 7%. But no longer are they 10 cents. Let's face it; those days are long gone. Because people who are doing bot armies like me. And obviously, I've got to time it better. I think what I should be doing is I should be turning it on for 3 days, then turning it off. And then I should just be going ahead and I should be waiting until like the last 3 days, then turning it back on again. And the reason why I say that is because the first 3 days are probably going to be good and juicy for the other people who have the 1-star bot accounts. But then after that, they'll be running dry. But the last 3 days, people will probably be recharging and they'll be off cooldown. So I can go in there, I can jam a few more games. So I think the first 3 and the last 3 are going to be pretty bot intensive for my 1-star army next time. But yeah, I'm just really, I think that when survival initially started, I was just like my initial reaction to it was, wow, some people are making 1,000 SPS per win here. Well, how's that going to affect modern? Right? How's it going to affect people who want to now get into modern? Are they going to invest in modern cards? Are they going to buy Conclave Arcana? When clearly the way to earning SPS here isn't through modern and using modern cards. It's just through going ahead and playing survival using wild cards, you know? And if the rentals equal value, in compared to what you rent for versus what you get on a win in survival, then I mean, it seems like a lot of people might just choose survival. Like I said, Dolo Knight, I think right now is experimenting in renting for play in survival. And it also makes me think a little bit about rental prices for next season as well. Because I think that what's going to happen, first off, as a renter, okay, I have to say that survival has killed being able to rent and also play in like modern, for instance, okay? My rental prices have just been crazy. If I were to go over here, I'll just pull up one of my rental things here. Where's the silence? I'll just show you here. Previously, I was making $1.41 or something like that after the season. I was paying 6,000 DEC for my rentals throughout the season, and then another 1.5, then another 1,500 DEC for my SPS rental. So overall, when all was said and done, add up the SPS I was being earned, and I was making basically $1.41. I was playing for fun, so that didn't really bother me or anything like that, okay? But if we were to go ahead and look now, and we were to go and we were to look at by me, and we were to look at my rentals, this is what I used to rent, okay? This is what I used to rent. I'll just have it like calculating here in the background. When I look at what the rentals are now, it's going to make it very difficult for renters to play in like something like modern that doesn't have the payout that survival has, okay? And that's the big caveat. Caveat. However, I think I pronounced it correctly. Sometimes my words, I've said salmon a lot for some reason. I don't know. It's because I grew up and I would say salmon and no one would correct me to salmon or salmon. Like even now, you know, there's just some of those words, you know, in French, like the word pneu, tire, pneu. Just one of those words. But all right, I've kept you in suspense here, babbling. If we were to even just look right now, like even right now looking at it, and it's not even done, we're looking at already 12,000 DEC that I'd have to spend. And that's, I mean, you would get it for 8 days, but I'm talking over the course of the entire rental season. I was only paying 6. So we're already looking at 13, and there's probably a couple of these that's not going to be able to find. Yeah, like there's a couple that I hasn't found. So I'm going to have to change my strategy with this account. I'm looking at just renting a Lux Vega, and then on top of renting the Lux Vega, just getting some of these individual like key cards. Obviously most of the reward cards because they're cheap and plentiful. But then a few other key cards like maybe a Demon Shark, a Wave Brood, you know, a Deep Lurker, a Regal Peryton, a Queen Mycelia, you know, those kind of cards there, right? But you can see that I've got my 150 in my cart, and even these 150 are 21,000 DEC. So once you look at it being a cost of $18 US, then to me that's like a losing, that's a pretty heavily losing proposition for me to just be like, I want to have fun as a renter and just play a second account for no reason but to have a rental account and just like add match liquidity at the cost of 1832 USD. I mean, that's 3 times more than what I was previously paying, more than 3 times more, right? If I was paying 6,000. So we're looking at like $14 more, which means that I would be in like a $13 deficit per season renting. Now, the bright side is I do think that this is going to straighten out. I think that next season we're going to see a change in the rentals. I don't know what that change is going to look like though. I don't know if we're ever going to see like the 1 DEC per day rentals again, because I feel like people would be, who play survival, would be like, well, I want every 1 DEC rental I can get just so I can play high level survival, you know? And I'm talking about max level cards, of course, here. I'm talking about renting max level cards, which is what you also want to rent to play survival, right? Is max level cards. So it's going to be one of those things that I think that maybe what might end up happening is that rentals are going to be strong at the very, very beginning of the season. People are going to go in, they're going to say, you know what? I have 10 max level Uraeus, but I know that based on last season, I rented 10 more Uraeus. So I'm going to go right now as soon as the season starts, and even though I have 10 Uraeus, I'm going to rent 10 more Uraeus right here at the start of the season. I'm just going to get whatever 10 Uraeus are cheapest, because I know as the season goes on, these rentals dry up, and I'm going to end up being forced to pay even more. So I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to do the rental right at the very beginning to get the maximum utility out of the card, because they'll be able to use it for all 15, as well as all 15 days of the season, as well as potentially the cheapest price, right? Because when you just say slam a bunch of them out for sale, then I mean you're going to end up with someone undercutting someone else until you end up with the bottom of the barrel prices, right? So it might end up that you're renting for 15 days, but that rental cost is the same as someone who picks up a card for the last, say, 7 days is going to pay. So you get like that 8 days free just based on, you have it longer, but you paid less per BCX for the time that you had it. That's also going to make it a concentration of renting that's going to happen the very last day or two. Because part of the problem that I've experienced for my rental account hasn't even necessarily been that, hey, this River Nymph now rents for 5.95 DEC a day. You know what? That's like 6 times more than what it used to rent for. Part of the problem is that you have to pay for everything up front. So I can't just go over here. Let's look at my shopping cart as an example. I can't just go over here and pay this 2,713 DEC a day and just rent it for 2 days like I used to be able to, and pay my 5,400. I can't pay my 5,400 DEC anymore for 2 days. I have to pay 21,000 DEC. And that's a pretty tough spot to be like, hey, by the way, pay up front 21,000 DEC. I want it now. And then you can go and you can play for the next 8 days. And hey, who knows? Something might happen. You might not even be able to play for half of that time, but we want that payment because it's seasonal rentals, But when it's in the last day or two, suddenly, especially think of it the very, very last day, people are going to be like, you know what? I don't really want to pay 49 DEC a day for Adelaide Brightwing. But since I don't have to rent it for 15 days, since I'm only renting it for 1 day, I'm going to splurge and I'm going to buy that Adelaide Brightwing. I'm going to rent it for 49 DEC a day. I'm going to splurge, because it's only a 1 day rental. You don't have to pay the 21,000. You can pay the 2,700 if we're looking at this rental as an example. So that's something else that I can foresee actually happening, is that there's going to be a lot of rentals that happen at a higher price on the very last day of the season, and potentially even more as we get closer to the end of the season, because it makes this season rental total a lot more palpable. Instead of the 21,000, like I said, if there's 2 days left, you're looking at 5,400. I can eat 5,400. I can't eat 21,000. A lot of people will be thinking that way, at least, So this whole survival thing, again, to me, just kind of sum things up. Initially, I was against it. I was like, it's only for whales, which it still is kind of in a lot of ways. It's only for whales and experienced players. This isn't a format for new players, is how we'll call it, okay? I was like, it's all for whales. It's going to take focus away from modern, which is what we really want people in. We want to sell Conclave Arcana packs, so we don't want to make it be like, oh, why buy Conclave Arcana? I just want to play in survival mode, But those fears were alleviated just based on what I'm seeing here, because the desire to play in survival mode is just so high. People just want to play survival to the point that they're willing to, despite how overprinted things were with Chaos Legion, people are still willing to pay 24 DEC a day to rent a Kelia, and that used to be much higher. I saw Kelias renting for like 60 and stuff like that, right? But they're still willing to pay 5 DEC a day for a Cruel Cephalopod, which I saw at 12. Same with Angelic Mandarin at 12. And look, Guardian 14 DEC a day and Igor at 10. Like, these prices are all coming down to something I've said before as well, which is utility. Right? The utility of the card is just so important right now on what you're going to be either paying for it, or you're going to be it's going to be costing you to rent it, right? And that utility could be either, at this point now, it's got multiple facets. That utility could be either it's cheap to rent. The utility could be, hey, it's plentiful, so I can use it a lot in survival mode. It's got good survivability. Or it can also be something just straight up along the lines of, I only want to use it for like a day or two, so I'm going to wait until the last day and I'm going to rent something. So I'm pretty impressed with the way that the survival has shaken out. It hasn't been all doom and gloom like what I thought it was going to be. It hasn't been straight whale play, and the whale play that it has been, again, has benefited the people like me, who just have small rental accounts and stuff like that. Like I said, let's go back to Silence 4. Like, who just have a small rental account and are using this rental account to be able to go and fund their Conclave Arcana in a lot of ways. And the fact that I've got 5,202 DEC a day coming in to do that, I mean, that's certainly attributable to survival mode. And people saying, you know what, it's worth it to me to go and rent these cards in order to go and jam games in survival. Like this Almo Cambio that someone rent for 38 DEC a day, and poor Almo's already done. Sorry, Imperage 4427. I can also see that there's probably going to be a good opportunity for bots to kind of come back and play the rental market as well. So I may as well talk about that a little bit, because I keep seeing like repeat names as someone who rents out, and I don't think that I'm going to be the only one who sees repeat names and stuff like that within their rental list, those of us who are still renting. So, I mean, it's absolutely feasible now at this point that a bot could exist that is a rental bot. It looks on the market for rentals that show up within a certain parameter, rent all those cards ASAP, then plays those cards by botting in survival mode, then takes the winnings that it has, converts that again into being able to rent more cards. Maybe it even bumps up the cost of renting those cards and rents at a higher price now because it's getting to the end of the season and the SPS payout is still high. So it just continually rents. Things like Alexander P 54321, like I see him renting a lot. Shade Croat, I see lots of Shade Croat that's renting. This Auspicious 99, Gamer 08, like these are all names that I tend to see repeated quite frequently. You know, Steve Kingley 31, you know, is there a Steve Kingley 30, 29, 28, and 27 as well? Imperage 4427, I saw a different Imperage, let's go up. Imperage 4427 and Imperage 4427, so that's the same Imperage at least, you know. But I guarantee that there's going to be a smart bot out there that does the calculations that show, hey, if I rent these cards at this price and I am playing at this level in survival mode, then it will be beneficial for me to just sweep the floor of 5 BCX a day Uraeus and drive the price up to 8-10 BCX a day on Uraeus, because that's his value in terms of what I'm getting back in SPS from using it to win. So there's going to be all these cool things that are going to be happening, you know? And like I was saying, I'm trying to figure out how the best way to manage these rentals is as well. Do I go and do I make a bunch, for instance, of this Chaos Dragon you can see, is the best way to rent it out as a 4-star 11 BCX, or is it as 3-star 6? I know it's not 2-star 3, but should I be taking all 3 of these 2-star 3s, turning it into a 9, adding 2 more and turning it into an 11? Or should I be just combining one set of 2-star 3s, turning it into another 3-star 6? So I've got those kinds of things that I'm having to kind of like figure out right now. Same with like restructuring Angelic Mandarin, for instance. Here's another example, right? I've got this 50 BCX plus a 40 BCX. I'm going to add a 25 BCX, which is going to turn those 3 into a 115, which rents for a lot more than any of the other levels do, right? So I've got enough for 115 there, and then I've got enough for another 115 here as well, because I just bought a few Angelic Mandarins off the market. So I'm doing a lot of restructuring like this to best be able to use the cards that I own and play with in order to kind of maximize this income that's coming in through this boon that is survival. Because some people are going to want to rent, you know, but as a person who rents out, I want to make sure that I'm getting my cut of what they're winning in survival by virtue of me renting them those cards. So I'm not going to complain about 5,000 DEC a day. Previously, before survival mode, it was around like 1.2, 1.3 DEC a day. And this is also since I did a bunch of restructuring. And again, I also added all of my play cards, all of these, to it as well, which came out of Wild. So out of my Wild earnings now, out of my Wild deck, I'm now earning 2,375 DEC a day instead of getting that $10 profit throughout the entire season, but also getting glint. So it should be around 20, 23 bucks difference. You know, at peg it'll be around. Oh, at peg it'll actually be around. Yeah, $20 difference per season at peg. So I mean, I'm going to use that to my advantage. And look at that, 19.27% APR. When's the last time we've seen that, guys? And this is being driven by survival and the fact that there are people who can win 1,000 SPS with a single win, and the fact that when you're winning like 80 SPS in a battle, it's worth it to you to just go and rent cards for 10, 20 DEC a day, because you win one battle, you got that paid off, and you got 10 more paid off as well. So I'm loving this. I take it all back. Anything negative I've said about survival, I see how it benefits the community, the renters. I should say the people who have to rent out. The only thing that it kind of sucks for is the renters, the people who are going to rent for like the season to play in, like either truly play in wild or play in modern. I think this is going to hurt those kind of renters. But as far as survival, I can see people renting to play survival. I just know that that's what's happening right now. That's what's pushing the rental up and the prices on it. Partially because it's the first season with full season rentals and people have to get it off dailies. But also because, I mean, man, why wouldn't you rent that Uraeus at 10 DEC a day if you play him in a battle and he wins you 80 SPS, So that's my valuation right now on survival. Let me know how you guys are feeling about it. Do you guys agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Or are you just like, hey, survival, no, I would never play that. It is only for bots, which is what I'm doing. You can see I'm extracting. I'm not extracting a lot, but I mean, I am extracting whenever I have the chance to do so. These 3 wins. But overall, like I said, I've extracted the benefits of 380 wins so far. So I'm not going to complain about that. I'll take whatever that ends up being, and I'll be happy with it. There you go. So again, I hope you guys have enjoyed this little segment. This is kind of like a little follow-up. The more I try and play my account, and I think that now I will go ahead and I will do like some form of rental if I can find something like this that's only 2,000. I will rent for my silence account now that it's half the season's done. So I'm saving 50% on rental costs anyway. You can look at it that way. I mean, I may as well take one last look over here and see in modern, are the battles even like up? Is the pay even up for these guys in Diamond? Like, let's check Kato Kid. View battles. Like, is the pay even substantially up? 25. Seems like that's what he's always been getting, right? I would have thought if there's more people like me who were renters who aren't playing, that would really be bumping up the value of these wins. 33, maybe that's up. I don't know. I'll have to figure that out. But yeah. So that's where we're going to call it the night for today. Another 32-minute video. Those of you guys who love long-form videos must just be loving these, right? But there you go. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe, and leave me a comment. Because we do have the silent social media contest going on right now, and every comment you leave will get you recorded into a chance to win either 3, 2, or 1 Chaos Legion pack at the end of this season. This is the last season. We will do that draw in 7 days and 9 hours, and it's going to take me a while to process the video, so a few minutes after that as well. Until next time, my friends, keep brawling it out in survival, and I will see you guys around Pretoria. Take care. Peace.